do $10 a day. You know, so think of trying to buy $40
a day, but they don't have enough jobs for like 20 days out of a month.
Right.
Think about that too.
So then think of trying to buy one piece of plywood. Like it takes forever to build your house. You know, because it takes years to get enough money just to get the basic materials to build with. So what you'll notice when you look at some homes, especially like, by the way, this over here is a chicken fighting ring. Okay. So if you notice commotion over there, that's what's going on. But right beside it is the home of the Spanish guy. It was over here last night. He's like 700 years old.
Yes.
That's his daughter's house, and they have a number of us, Rochelle, you were
I was
over
there. Little puppies over there.
You know, we went and toured their home, and they showed us like behind their home. You know, they eat from like they have trees. They're eating from the trees and the plants around their house. But the home is 10 bricks, maybe like 10 bricks wide each direction, 10 cinder blocks. But then you'll see the house around it. This kind of looks more like this wall here. That's because over time, it might take them years, they're adding a room as they move along. So that's kind of what's happening there. But so to get back to the clinic and the cost, everything just costs a lot of money. It's sad because it shouldn't. You would think that it wouldn't, but they don't have the resources in their country to make these things. So everything's brought in. So anyways, to get back to the clinic and give you an idea of where some expenses go, the property is 30 grand. The fence was 25?
22.
20, and is that finished or that's where it is now?
The way it is right now.
Yeah. So, you know, eventually over time when we get to a place where it makes sense to put the money towards finishing it, we'll do that. But, you know, the idea right now is just safety, not really safety, security for the clinic so things don't disappear. Even with this fence, when we brought the materials in and we had a guard here, somehow overnight, like 2 or 3 panels disappeared, you know? Because, you know, to have a panel like this to them, that's an entire, that's like, you know, if they have 3 of them, they've got a roof over their house now, you know? So that was 30 grand. The pad here was 20.
Like
the
this
building
cement?
was 50. And that's just the structure of the building.
That doesn't include shipping.
Right.
Shipping. We did save because we got smart and went through a lot of pain. And we went through extra lot of pain to get it through customs. We used another organization, but it was a lot of pain getting it through without having to pay all the fees. They wanted to charge us, I think it was altogether 15 grand. It was 5 to 10 per
7,
container.
14 plus extra. So it's just for like 7 for taxes. 7 for each container, so that's 14,000.
Yeah.
That was saved.
But because Andy like spent 4 days or 5 days in Port-au-Prince.
7 days.
7 days in Port-au-Prince. While the rest of the team's here, by the way. It was supposed to, customs like, it cleared, it's ready, you know, okay. Then we show up, but Andy triple checks, you know, you're sure it's cleared, it's ready, we can pick it up, yes, 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 yes. Fly the team down, we get here, and they're like, oh, well, it's cleared and it's ready, but it's not all the way cleared. So it took 7 days to clear it. Anyways, we got the building in. The tile is about 5 grand, somewhere around there. You know, so it's just everything adds up. But that being said, what we have here is an amazing miniature hospital. Okay, so people aren't just going to come in and get medication for a headache or the belly, or you know, medication for worms or malaria, which saves lives right away. But they'll also be able to do procedures. You know, a maternity center. So the first room over here is the pharmacy with that door. The next door is the inpatient and record keepings. That's where the patients will go in first. In fact, to start at the beginning, the patients are going to enter and they sit in this area. There will be a structure over this to provide shade, but it will be open because that's the one rule they have here. Is if you have patients, you have to have an open area that's covered to prevent the spread of disease while people are hanging out. So they'll hang out in this area, but they'll move through a system. So they'll sit here first, go through admitting, paperwork will be done, they'll assess where they need to go from there. The next room over is a exam room. Then the next room is 2 dental, actually the third door in is optometry, okay, which is your eyeballs. The next door in the corner will have 2 dental suites. And then there's a women's restroom. The next one is an exam room for pediatrics, and then OBGYN, then a hallway with storage, This will be a small OR with a recovery pre and post op. Just beside that, there's a scrub room in between. Then the men's restroom, and then we have an lab, X-ray, and another exam room. But because how it's set up, they can specialize the room for one for peds, one for an OBGYN, and the rest for general exams. So it's a miniature hospital in one. And what we're doing now, of course, is we're building the storage for all the medical supplies, medical equipment, things as they come in, so we can accept stuff, from the U.S. that's sent to us, sort it out, store it, and then move it into the clinic as it's needed. So any questions with that stuff there, or general questions?
So what happens when like so many people come? Because like I remember at CLC there was like a lot of people waiting, but we weren't doing as much as it sounds like you guys will be. So like, what if so many people come and only one room can
Are they coming by appointment?
see?
Yeah, so there will be more structure. Part of the problem with coming in and with a group of doctors was they had to spend like a day and a half just setting up, and then they only had 3 days to see people, and then a day tearing down. So it was wasted time of highly skilled people. Okay, so now when let's say the doctors come in for a week, this will be ready. They open up the doors and people show up. Now what you notice at CLC is 100 people or 200 people would show up and just sit there all day because you weren't able to create a system because you aren't here long enough to do that. So we're working on a card system where people will come ahead of time and get a card that says which day to show up, something like that. That will help create some flow, but then instead of waiting, they can come to admittance, they can say which room you need to go to.
They're also going to have records too, right? You're going to keep from people that have been in the past. That'll also speed up things, right?
Yeah, we'll have a record system first on paper, but we do have a computer system that over time will be set up, so then it's all in the computer, to be accessed eventually from
Who are the
US.
doctors that are going to be here?
Pardon?
Who are the doctors that are going to be here?
Where are they?
Yeah, or who are they?
Oh, well, you've met some of them, Bobby
Yeah.
and Tammy.
So they're going
Jen.
to come for like weeks at a time kind of thing?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, but once this is permanent, then we can set up a system for doctors to come in rotations,
Cool.
And if there is it also for an emergency facility that people could just stop in or no?
No, it's less, emergency, that will go to the,
To the fitting place.
yeah. Emergency, they'll go downtown,
Yes.
okay? We could handle emergencies, but we're really more handling
Fire pump.
Basics.
making people's lives better and taking care of things that don't happen in emergencies. So, there's the one kid that you guys may have seen, BB, who's in the video and his legs are all crinkled up. Okay? Kids like that, they're never going to treat them in town. Okay? They need snips on their tendons to release things and straighten their legs. That would be higher level that, hopefully we'll be able to get to some of that. But like the general OBGYN stuff, handling kids, people who have diseases who need help over time, that doesn't happen in town. It's emergency, dying, maybe,
Just to add to what Carl was saying, one thing that's happening right now, which we're highly considering, is being part of a health community. So we've been kind of communicating with other organizations where we could kind of specialize in something. They can specialize in something else. So right now we're considering pediatrics. At least that's what we would be excited about. But it doesn't have to be that. But it would be good because that way people know when they need pediatrics help, that's where they come. If they need something else. So we're trying to talk to all the other communities, all the other organizations that are already here and wanting to do something similar. And I think that's going to really help the process. So things are kind of changing as it goes, but I think it's for the better.
So there's a hospital in Decma? In the city?
Yeah.
Hospital?
Yeah.
I've actually never been, so Carl can tell you.
Fred.
You didn't go?
No.
Yeah, so the hospital was hit hard by the earthquake. But previous to that, it was not a place you'd want to go anyways. We saw the OR and there's mold on the walls. So, I think that says everything right there. The emergency room for the hospital, that hospital, by the way, is supposed to feed 800,000 people. That's the hospital they would go to, the only hospital. The emergency room was smaller than this, and there was mold on the walls. People were laying on tables that are made out of pipes that are all rusted. There one bloody patient I saw come off of a bed, and they put another bloody patient right on it.
Wow, not changing the sheets.
So there's a lot of stuff to be tackled, you know. They took a needle for Lele when we brought Lele in. And you might remember he's the kid who was dying from. He had asthma, but he was going into he had gone into respiratory arrest, so his lungs were shutting down. And they went to give him an IV. First off, it took 45 minutes for them to not decide what to do, to be able to do it. We're there with Merlon, who can stick a needle in right away. She can't just go to their cabinet and grab the stuff out, you know. Then, once they set up the IV, it wasn't draining right, and the lady was going to put a hole in the IV bag to allow it to drain, and she dropped the needle on the floor in liquid, and then picked it up and then poked the hole in the bag, right? So there's, this general operating standard procedures of how things are done, you know, for health and cleanliness, sanitation is just not programmed into them. They don't have the time, talent, and training to do that, you know. So part of what will happen at the clinic is, and we have a doctor that's 2 houses over, is he works here, like when we're gone, maybe a couple weeks ago I think it was, we were in a medical clinic. So he works here, and so working with our doctors helps him get trained so that when he goes to the hospital, he can say, no, don't do it this way. I'm being taught the right way to do it, you know. So the idea isn't over time that Angel Wings keep sending doctors down and spending money and taking care of the local people. The idea is over time, Angel Wings trains the local people to have the skills to run the clinic. Obviously, someone will always have to overlook it. The doctors will have to come in to shadow, but it'll be less and less, hopefully, doctors focused on this one clinic, and more of the doctors here gaining the skills and knowledge to run the clinic.
We're trying to create part of the legacy that things that will happen even in now, changing some things around, you know, of the way things, because the way things are, it's not good, it's not working.
Yeah.
So we can't just come. That's another battle that we have, because we cannot just come and just do this and then kind of try to blend in. Yes, we want to do that, but we also want to, you know, be part of the change.
Yeah.
Make it better, bring the standards that we have in the U.S. here. So that's part. I was having a conversation with somebody else last night. It's like part of what you're doing is showing them how to work and how to do this. Like you're also an example for them while you're here. So just think about that.
And on one trip while I was here, I stayed 3 extra days and just went around and met with any other organization that had anything to do with medicine or the medical field or anything of that nature. So, as Andy said, so we can partner and not overlap on the same thing, but enhance what each of us is doing, you know? And I think that's an important thing, otherwise it's not a wise use of money that's donated, of the energy of the doctors that come and of the people who come to build. You know? And so through that, what we found was, through that trip actually, we found an organization who's like an Angel Wings, but for electric and plumbing. So then we realized, why should we try to figure all this out, right? Let's have them do it, you know? But they had a finite timeline, like a small timeline, to get in and do things for us because they're working on orphanages and all these other things. And so what they needed to be able to come in and do the clinic was, they needed the clinic totally emptied. And so that's why our trip is focusing on emptying the clinic into the containers so that they can come in and do their job. And so if that happens, it'll be amazing, because what we found is us trying to focus on building, that's not our skill. Our skill is like, you know, treating people, you know. So we just do out of necessity what we have to do to get to the next step, and then have the local people do other stuff while we're gone, like the fence and, you know, what their skill set is.
With all that being said, I think I speak for everybody, especially the people who were here last time, but before we start working on the clinic and doing new things to it, but to appreciate how much work, especially you two, put into the clinic, and how far it's come from a dirt lot to make something so amazing here is pretty remarkable. So you guys and the local guys as well. So round of applause for Eddie and Carl. Once there was nothing, and now there's a pretty remarkable structure full of the finest blue foam.
Yes!